Now we're entering into the second half of our webinar, and we will get a chance to visit two of our test beds. So first out is GigaCal, and then secondly, we will get a chance to visit Olusson. And we had a lot of discussions in the project secretariat of how do we actually visit our test beds when we meet online? So how can we make this compromise between actually wanting to go out to the field and visit and see for ourselves what is happening, but at the same time doing all this digitally? So we're trying out today, showing a few films and then having dialogue with the product managers, communicators, and some of our end users that are actually using these test beds. If we take the next slide, please. I will just very briefly say a few words of the sort of the setup of this hour of the webinar. So we will first visit GigaCal, and we will get a chance to see with our own eyes what it looks like when GigaCal is in action. And we will then engage in a dialogue with some of the key persons engaged in these test beds. And then I will also provide some time for group discussions. Because one of the purposes, of course, of this network is to make some new connections, meet new people. So we will divide you into small groups of 4, in order to share some reflections. And then we have the same setup for Olusson Plus. So we will first get a chance to see what does it actually look like at the Olusson test bed. And we will then get a chance to hear from Rauno, how are they thinking about user involvement, and then a chance again to share reflections in a group discussion. Yes, so if we take the next slide, please. First out is GigaCal, and this is one of our very exciting test beds. So this is an infrastructure for precision farming, and it's managed by Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences. And it's really a platform for data collection, and it's connected to the existing farm systems. And I'm very excited to see and hear more about GigaCal. So I will ask my colleague here to start the video that GigaCal has produced.
We have a lot of machines that collect data, so we get a lot of information about the cows, and more and more numbers all the time.
What can you do with this information?
Well, we use it to get information about the cows, how they behave, and how they feel, about their health and everything. So we use it in the regular management of the cows.
What advantages are there for you as a farmer to be part of GigaCow?
Well, the most obvious advantage is that we get the genomic samples paid by GigaCow. And then it also feels good that the data is utilized, since there is so much data we're collecting. And it's also a good opportunity to have a close contact with the research.
So how does it work to be a farmer and part of GigaCow? What practical things are there to do?
Well, at first we're installing a software on the herd computer that is collecting data from the various management programs that we have on the farm. And then we're setting up the genomic selection, or the genomic sample taking. We have done that for a couple of years. And if you're a new farmer, we will assist the farmer to take samples from all the older cows, as well as calves. And when you have entered the genomic sampling, then you will take the samples regularly on the newborn heifer calf. When we have installed the program that is collecting data, the software will also send all the data automatically to GigaCow server.
My name is Annika Hansson. I'm working as a dairy advisor and my advice is most regarding feeding and management.
In your job as an advisor, what are the consequences of digitalization?
For sure let me know a lot more about what the cows are doing during the days and over periods. I get aware about activity between days at individual level, and also in some instruments I will get aware on herd level or lactation status, how active or not active the cows are. So I get to know a lot more about the cows.
And what advantages are there with an infrastructure like GigaCow?
Infrastructure is both on farm level for the farmer himself or herself, get to know more about his or her cows, and as an advisor I also get to know a lot more about the cows, and most of all I think it's very interesting that researchers are doing projects and get to know a lot more about cows and cows behavior and a successful management and successful behavior to improve how to take very good care of your cows. I'm really curious about GigaCow, what it will come out from the research there. The researchers are looking at up-to-date data, and it's safe data and it's secure data, and it will be like applied science and very fresh science, and it will directly go to help the farm industry to improve cow management.
you. Thank you so much to GigaCow for sharing this video with us. I think it was very nice to actually see what it looks like on the field, in the farm. I would now like to invite, I know we have Thomas with us here, we have Natalie, who you saw in the video, and also Annika, who you saw in the video. So maybe first I will ask you, Natalie, you're working with communication within the GigaCow testbed and project. So how come you decided to make this video, which is actually focusing on the end users? What were the discussions that sort of led to you making this movie?
Well, we would like to try different formats of communication. And now, as you all know, at the moment, we are quite restricted. We can't travel and visit the farmers, and we can't go to events, physical events, which we had planned quite a few of this year. So we thought that rather than just talking by Zoom like this, which is of course also very nice, but to have some visual material which actually shows what things look like on the farm. And of course, everybody gets happy about seeing some cows, I think. So it's a new, for us, it's a new way of communicating or another form. We also have newsletters that are directed mostly also to farmers and advisors. And we actually print these physically also to send them out, something that you can have lying around on your kitchen table and look at once in a while. So it's some nice material to get home. And communication for us is really a two-way process, or we want to involve everybody. It's not just us reaching out with information, what we do and what we want, but also really to listen to the end users and get input from them, how we can improve, what we can do for them, and what questions they have. And maybe also in the long run, formulating research questions from that sort of perspective. And we have had great help from advisors from VEXA. For example, Annika Hansson, who is with us today also, and from Silla Krantz from AgroÖst. Also to reach out to the farmers. We got a very good response very fast actually, and that's very nice to see. So we're collecting a lot of data now.
Excellent, thank you so much, Natalie. I'm very happy that that you made this movie, and it's interesting to hear when you say, well, communication from our perspective is this two-way dialogue. So both actually promoting GigaCow and what you can do, but also then collecting end user information, thoughts and reflections. Thank you. I know we have Thomas here as well, and I would like to take the opportunity, Thomas. I mean, you're managing the GigaCow testbed, and what are your thoughts and reflections on the challenges that Klaus-Åge mentioned earlier on today with the low adoption rates and how to involve the end user? What are your reflections on that?
I would say that return on investment is the core when it comes to everything in business. And I would even say that it applies in science as well, that we invest time. And both researchers and farmers have a tendency to just work harder when we're running out of time. And so what we've done with GigaCow, we have worked hard to make sure that it from the first second is worth the time of the farmer. So we pay for genome analysis, and this has also been very helpful because the advisors on VEXA got a natural incentive to work with us since VEXA is providing that commercial service to the farmers. And then we reimburse the costs for the farmers. So when joining the network, the farmer knows that they're going to get a very useful commercial service for free, thanks to being a part of GigaCow. So that's how we got into the farms from the start. And then we follow that up with being good communicative people that both listen to the farmers and try to find ways to make ourselves as useful as possible. Like, for example, we have one of our farms, they wanted a dashboard where they collect historical data from the farm in a way that is not supported by the herd management system. And now we're setting it up for a pilot project with trying to get a master's student in computer science to do a pilot for a minimum viable product, where we bring the GigaCow data directly back to the farmer. And then we also share it with the advisors. So we try to make sure that we use a bit of money to get into the mind of the farmers and the advisors and guarantee that good return of investment. And then we set up a more long-term relationship where we prove ourselves useful in different ways. And I think that we can use the same approach as a test bed for companies, so that through GigaCow, we can help companies or researchers to test new methodologies or equipment, prove them in some farms, and through GigaCow, we will also have the basic data that they then can use to show other farmers that, yeah, this is definitely worth the time and money of the farmers.
Thank you, Thomas. It sounds like you're quite business oriented in a sense, and you started off and you returned to this concept of return on investment, and you're saying that we acknowledge that we have to give the end user, the farmers, something here, and it's about, I mean, time is a scarce resource, and we need to prove that what we're providing the farmers with is something that's very useful to him or her. And you also provided some very concrete and practical examples here of how you can actually do that. I think that was interesting. And also you mentioned bringing computer science students out into the farms. I would quite like to follow how that works out. I think that's a very important gap we need to bridge. To actually bringing different educations together and the different sectors when we look at IT and technology and our farms and our forests.
Yeah, my background is in bioinformatics, coming from Uppsala University, and then I wanted to work closer with the data. So that's when I switched over to the Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences. And I also studied at the Uppsala School of Entrepreneurship, which really helps when you work with farmers. And I also got a small family company, etc. So being close to business definitely helps working with farmers. And but then, yes, I would say that the way the education system is set up means that you tend to either be good at agronomy and agriculture, or you're good at computer science and technology. So bringing that together as much as possible. And also, I think that's a bit of a problem that since data is of great commercial value, then I think many agricultural companies are a bit unwilling to share it. And that means that the computer scientists and IT entrepreneurs, they don't really have an idea where to start working with agriculture often. So you have a few companies where you get that match, and those companies do great, but we need more of them.
Thank you for pointing that out, and thank you for being a very interesting example yourself, Thomas, of bringing different fields together, like Mireille here as well, adding business and IT sector into agronomy. I would like also to take the advantage to include you, Annika, in the conversation. Being an advisor and working closely with GigaCow and of course other dairy farms. From your perspective, Annika, do you understand and do you see these challenges that were mentioned earlier on during the morning, the low adoption rates and the challenge of getting the tools actually used out in the real world? Is that something you agree with, or what's your take on that?
I do fully agree with that, and I think that's actually a part of my future my future job as a consultant, to help to transform all these data to usable and understandable knowledge to help the farmer to improve. For instance, we have those activity meters, and I have my data from the cow database, actually what the farmer has done to his dairy cows, and I I get a grip about how well he uses his or her activity meters thanks to that data. And then I can try to advise, and first I have to study how come he or her does not use the tool, and perhaps they have a goal that different from my idea of optimal farming, and then I have to respect that. And if not, I can help them to improve acknowledgement and how to use it in practice.
Thank you. I think the advisors have a very important role to play here when we're talking about the test beds, developing the technology, and then including or involving the end user. You're really a link between the two worlds. Yeah. And I think it was interesting you said how my new or my future role would be very much to sort of engage in this user involvement process and sort of translate how to use the data and perhaps also as a feedback loop then back to researchers and developers. What is it that the end users need, or what are their challenges?